Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Good morning, and welcome to Good Morning Crypto, where we turn your early hours in the morning into your edge in financial freedom. Today, I've got a few headlines. One of them is on Donald Trump's message at Davos, and the other one is going to be about Donald Trump as well. You know, he is all over the news, and he is having quite an impact on the markets. So we will touch on what was happening yesterday, because I do think it has a lot of impact going forward on both your TradFi side of things and the crypto side of things. So we will dive on into that after we get through our stock heat map and the rest of today's data. We are seeing things a bit neutral right now, which is to be expected when there's a lot of uncertainty in the market. We do have some data coming out this morning as well, so seeing a little bit of sell-off in preparation for that is not too unexpected either. You do have Apple sitting down 0.08, so sitting quite neutral in the pre-market, getting a little bit of a boost up 0.45%. We've got Nvidia sitting up 0.1, and in the pre-market getting a bit of some sell-off, sitting at that 0.7 range. We also have Berkshire Hathaway sitting quite neutral as well, in that down 0.15, in the pre-market sitting quite neutral, in that sell-off down 0.09. We've got Amazon sitting up a 0.17, so quite neutral as well. In the pre-market, seeing some slight buying pressure, up 0.03. We've got Eli Lilly sitting up quite nicely from yesterday, up 1.67. In the pre-market, seeing some heavy sell-off, down 0.83%. Got ExxonMobil sitting up 0.57. Seeing some continued buying pressure in the pre-market right now, up 0.16. We've got Tesla sitting down just out of that neutral range, down 0.66. In the pre-market, seeing some buying pressure though, it is sitting up 0.62. We've got P&G sitting up quite nicely, one of those inflation-resistant stocks that continues to make some gains while everything else loses, up 0.86%. In the pre-market, sitting down just a smidge, down 0.39%. We do have Microsoft sitting quite neutral as well, sitting in that 0.11 range for its close, just a smidge down in the pre-market, down 0.03. Google also saw a bit of sell-off yesterday, down 0.22 off of its close, and in the pre-market sitting up 0.17. We've got Meta sitting up a 2.8%, and in the pre-market continuing on that buying streak, up 0.28. For the crypto side of things, we are looking pretty green. We do have Bitcoin up 1.65%, Ethereum up 1.96%. We got XRP sitting up 2.7%, Dogecoin sitting up at 3.16%. We got BNB sitting down just a little bit at that 0.07 range. We do have Solana up quite big, up 5.31% on the daily. We got Chainlink sitting up 1.89. Tron is sitting up 2.22. We've got Cardano sitting up a 1.41. And to wrap that on out, we do have Avalanche up 2.12. Stellar Lumens up 1.96. And SWE sitting up 3.48. We do have a few outliers outside of that top 25, but for the most part, everything's looking pretty green or sitting in that neutral range. We do have some data coming out for the morning, and that will be that S&P Global Composite PMI flash. We are looking to be ticking up just a little bit on that, which is not necessarily a bad thing. We do have existing home sales, which is looking to be increasing as well as the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Final. That will be another big market mover. That's mostly coming out at 10 o'clock for the heavy data. We do have that S&P coming out at 9:45 Eastern time. Other than that, it is a pretty data-free day. We did see that Bank of Japan interest rate hike last night. It did go up that 25 basis points that the market was pricing in. And as you can see from what I was saying, we haven't had a big impact on crypto just yet. We also haven't seen much of an impact on the TradFi side of things in the pre-market. We will kind of have to see if there's an impact when that market opens. But the JPY pair that I've been keeping a close eye on has been holding quite steady, which is what we want to see. We'll have to see if that continues into market open today, because if you do see that JPY pair losing a little bit of strength on the dollar side of things, that does mean that you have some dollars flowing out of the US market and into that Japanese yen. Let's hop over to our fear and greeds for the day. We do have that stock market back at neutral, like I've been talking about. We were probably going to end up seeing that. We might see a tick back into the greed side of things before we get that move back down, though. There is a lot of data coming out at the beginning of February that might tick that stock market back to that neutral side. And if it comes out extremely hot or extremely worrisome, you might see it drop back into that fear range. We do have crypto sitting at no change and staying at that greed. For the liquidation heat map, let's give it a little bit of refresh. I pulled that up about 30 minutes ago. We've got a bit of some liquidity sitting to the top side of us at that 106,500 range. Another light hotspot above that at that 107 range. So if you zoom that on out to the 3-day, you can kind of see we've got the liquidity to both the highs and the lows of us in this current range. The hotspot for the top side in that same range that we had talked about on the 24-hour. We do have that hotspot climbing back up at that $100,000 range for the bottom side. Kind of bodes for one last push down if we aren't able to grab that top side liquidity first and continue to the upside. We'll kind of have to see what key levels we are at and where that might move us for the morning and over the long term when we hop into that Bitcoin chart. That 2-week is starting to get some hot spots to the bottom side as well. I've talked about a bottoming point at that 98.3. We do have a hot spot of liquidity sitting right above us and right above that, and that's that 99,155 range, almost up to that 99.2. So definitely starting to see a bit of liquidity to the bottom side, which might push us down just a little bit. That monthly still has that giant hotspot sitting down there at 71,000 that I don't think we go grab unless the markets get extremely concerned on things. Let's hop over to the chat. Say good morning to everyone as we pull up that Bitcoin chart. I do see Alexandra G in here. Good morning to you. Good morning, French Toaster. I see Knoxville and Jeffrey Stonesire in here as well. Good morning to you all. Oh, and all set. Good morning to Arsan246 in here as well. Good morning to you all. I hope you're having a great day so far. It should be a good one. It is Friday. So I've got Bitcoin pulled up on that 4-hour chart. As you can kind of see, we've got some resistance here at that 382 on our retracement. We do have a few bouncing ranges right below us that might get hit and push things back up to the top side on things. Your 4-hour chart just crossed your MACD, your indicator line on the top side of things. So if we can continue to see some money flow coming in on the green, or at least maintaining some of these ranges for the weekend, it does bode well for continued upside. We would need to kind of hold that 50% fib line as an all stops kind of area. You do have a little bit of a range below that, where that 102,000, if we were unable to maintain that 50% line, comes back into play on things. If we are unable to maintain all of this range, I would look at going and grabbing that liquidity. You do have a bit of a sideways movement on your MACD as it's crossed that indicator line on the 4-hour. So unless we get extreme money flow being positive, then it kind of bodes for that slightly lower drop on things. If you take a look at that 1 hour, you are getting that curvature on the MACD as well, and the prime oscillators looking to go back down the same as the MACD. You aren't really seeing any heavy reversal signals flashing, no overboughts, so we just need to maintain some of these key levels. Let me get that Fibonacci extension hidden so that we can get a little bit of a cleaner chart there. Let me get rid of that fair value gap that I've had drawn out too. Kind of clouds up the chart a bit. We have gotten a bit of some play off of that. That's where we got that little bit of a bounce back up to that 382 there. But it's looking like we might ignore that on the way back down on things. I would look at that 50% fib line. We do have that bouncing range at 104.67 as well, if we don't end up coming all the way back down to that 50% fib line. But I would look at that 50% fib as we're getting this curvature and the money flows kind of rolling over just a bit. We are in the red on things, so continued selling pressure might drag us back down just a little bit on things, as the news wasn't overly bullish yesterday. It was a move in the right direction in some areas, but it has more of an effect on TradFi than anything else. Let's take a look at that 15-minute, see what the morning is bringing our way. And this chart kind of shows that that 50% fib line coming back into play on things. You do have us creating some nice width from that indicator line as we're getting more heavy curvature to the downside, looking to kind of break the trend of higher lows here. And we're right at some spots where we had a hammer candle here to kind of indicate a reversal. We are testing the bears and the bulls in this range. As you can kind of see, we do have very equal candle bodies here and equal lows on the candle bodies as well. But with all how the money flow is rolling over on that 15-minute here, you can kind of see that curvature back down on things, with our prime oscillator now dark red and unable to, and we're kind of rolling over on volume as well. I would look at that break of higher lows coming our way here within the next few candles on things. That kind of points us back down to that 50% fib line, and maybe a bit lower if we get continued selling pressure. Really depends on how hard that money flow rolls over. If we are able to maintain that 50% fib line, I would look back at that $106,000 range. This 382 is going to be an extreme battle point for us. If you zoom it on back here, anything over that 382 kind of started that selling pressure on things. So we did get a few moves above that 106, but that 106 is going to be a key area as well, where if we get above that 382, we're going to start seeing some selling pressure back down to that 105 300 range. And that's going to be that next little battle point if we get that bounce on the 50% fib line. If not, that golden pocket looks like that next little juicy bounce. We do have an indicator, a resistance line that I had drawn out, which we got a nice bounce off of before that move to the 382, which should come into play as well. So definitely a few little bouncing points below if we are unable to maintain that 50% fib line. We are seeing that those moving averages get a bit of some cool off, but the MACD and our prime oscillator need that cool off as well. I see Jay Violet in the chats. Good morning, dropping that coffee cup in there. Hope you're having a great evening. I know you're in Australia. We've got JR Block saying, what's up, bros and ladies? Good morning to you, Junior Block. Hope you're having a great morning so far. We are prepping for that market open, kind of waiting to see if we see any flow out of that US dollar and into that Japanese yen. Thank you to Jay Violet dropping that Discord link in the chat. If y'all aren't a part of that Discord, we do have the free section, which we have a lot of fun in. We've also got the WAP upperclassmen. It's just $20 a month, and we do quite a lot in there. We've got a very fine-tuned DCA strategy that we've been going over in our paid membership group, which there's a lot of alpha in. There is a teaser in that YouTube membership of if you join that YouTube membership for Bitcoin only. We do have some alt ones as well. Got Al Jr. in here saying good morning. Let's hop over to my first news article for the day. Got Arsan saying, Dumpy Friday, courtesy of JP. This is the first article I wanted to hop into because this was a biggie for yesterday. Donald Trump tells Davos elites to invest in U.S. or face tariffs. Washington AP. President Donald Trump used an address Thursday to the World Economic Forum to promise global elites lower taxes if they bring manufacturing to the U.S. and threaten to impose tariffs if they don't. Speaking by video from the White House to the annual summit in Davos, Switzerland, on his third full day in office, Trump ran through his flurry of executive actions since his swearing in and claimed that he had a massive mandate from the American people to bring change. He laid out a carrot and stick approach for the private investment in the U.S. Come, make your product in America, and we will give you among the lowest taxes as any nation on earth, Trump said. But if you don't make your product in America, which is your prerogative, then very simply you will have to pay a tariff. Differing amounts, but a tariff which we will direct hundreds of billions of dollars and even trillions of dollars into our treasury to strengthen our economy and pay down debt under the Trump administration. Trump, who spoke Wednesday to Saudi Arabia's crown prince, also said Thursday that the kingdom wants to invest $600 billion in the U.S., but the crown prince Mohammed bin Salman to increase it to $1 trillion. The remark drew some laughter from the crowd in the hall in Davos. Introducing Trump, Davos founder Klaus Schwab told the new president that his return and his agenda have been at the focus of our discussions this week. He invited Trump to speak at the summit in person next year. This is definitely a big thing for the U.S. markets. As you can kind of see, it did have a mixed reaction from Davos, but it has been the topic of discussion. You definitely see a bit of some movements on the Mexican dollar and the Canadian dollar off of these sentiments. You have been seeing the US dollar strengthen against them quite nicely, especially since he's talked about that 25% tariff there. And you've already had some companies like Samsung and a few other manufacturers who have talked about moving their production from Mexico back to the US, which does bode well for the US job market. You will see other manufacturing jobs kind of moving back over to the US if you do have those tariffs imposed on other countries and their imports. It will make some of these goods a little bit more expensive, a partial rollover onto the American consumer as the goods needed to manufacture these goods are a little more expensive because you will have to import them. But overall, you will see that strengthening of the American dollar against it, which will negate some of that inflation pressure. You will also see some increases in the debts if it is not managed properly. So that's going to be that next part of things. So if you are able to cut some of the spending of the US government and use those tariffs in a positive way instead of just trying to fund more government, then it will help on things as well as you pay down the debt like Donald Trump has promised to do. That does bring a lot of strength to the US dollar as well, because that the US dollar is a debt instrument and we sell a lot of that debt. And when that debt comes to call, having lower debt on your side means that you are able to pay that debt that has come to call a little bit easier and brings that strength back to the US dollar. This will also increase a bunch of wage pressures in the United States as well, as you have some lower costs on the American consumer side of things, and making things more competitive means that you have more competitive wages as well. So definitely a lot of different positives that come from this, but it's not all positive. As you have been seeing a bit of some sell-off on the stock side of things, and a lot of unpredictability in the markets. There is a lot of uncertainty, which is driving that as well. So that's where you've been seeing gold getting bought up extremely hard, and you will continue to see that as the markets remain uncertain on things. I did have another news article as well. Let me get that one pulled up for you. And this was the biggie from yesterday for the crypto side of things, and that's a Bitcoin drops after Trump signs crypto and national digital asset stockpile executive order. And this was kind of misleading. It is not an actual stockpile. It is more of a group of people to look into making a stockpile. So let's dive on into this article here. On January 23rd, U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order creating a working group on digital asset markets tasked with finding ways to give the U.S. leadership in the crypto industry, along with evaluating the creation of a strategic national digital asset stockpile. And that's that biggie that crypto has been looking for. It wasn't approved as a actual stockpile, but looking into what would be good assets for a stockpile is a step in the right direction there. While the executive order is a step forward for the crypto sector, it falls short of the National Strategic Bitcoin Reserve specific executive that BTC investors have been anxiously waiting for. Minutes after executive order was signed, Bitcoin responded by trending down, briefly falling to 102,200. This downside move pales in comparison to the exuberance seen in Bitcoin price earlier in the day when U.S. Senator and Bitcoin advocate Cynthia Loomis posted on X, "Big things are coming," encouraging her followers to stay tuned for an announcement that many assumed would be the presidential executive order for the formation of a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Following Loomis's social post, Bitcoin abruptly rallied from 102, 100 to 106, 850 before the markets realized that the senator was actually referring to her appointment as the chair of the Senate Banking Subcommittee on Digital Assets. The softening of the Bitcoin price is partially connected to the market's participants reading the fine print of the executive order and possibly realizing that BTC only National Strategic Reserve simply cannot be created in one day by the stroke of a pen. And this is a step in the right direction on things. And as I've said in some of the chats, the federal government is a slow moving machine, and things will not get done in one day. That's how the federal government is designed, and having a group of people that are going to be looking into stockpiling digital assets by executive order is going to be the best that we get for right now. It is a very slow moving machine, and even forcing this upon the US government is a big move, because later on, you will have to bring their findings to Congress, and it will have to be approved there. So a lot of moves will have to happen after this, but it's a giant step in the right direction. I see Jesse Gulak in the chat. We see Anthony Soprano as well. Good morning, you barbecue loving people. Well, this is America, and we love our barbecue, and we like to talk about it too. We've got that rib emoji that has been taking over our chats. Drop that rib emoji in there if you've got it. We got let's see, Arsan246, Al Jr., Arsan246 saying Japan, courtesy, Dumpy Friday, courtesy of Japan. We'll kind of have to see exactly how that plays out at that market open. It is in the back of my mind on things, but that's where I'm going to be watching that US dollar JPY pair very closely. Got Donato Cabrera in here as well. Good morning to you, sir. Let's hop over to some of those assets I was looking at for the morning. I did have gold pulled up. Gold is making that move back to the upside as we've seen the markets being very uncertain. I did talk yesterday about seeing a bounce on the top of my Fibonacci extension line, and it played out quite nicely, and we've been continuing that move to the upside. We did get a bit of some wicking below that here on that 1 hour chart, but we've continued to move up. We did get some overbought signals flashing, some reversal signals flashing, as our prime oscillator has got a bit of some cool off, but that money flow here is staying quite solid on things. Your volume is quite nice as well, and is in that picking up mode. We are in that light green on volume, so seeing that volume pick up just a little bit more, we might see that blast outside of this Fibonacci retracement that I've had drawn out for quite a while there. Let's pull that up to the daily. As you can kind of see, it was drawn from the all-time highs on gold here, and we are quickly approaching that again. That next little move I would look at to see that bounce towards would be that 2,826, which is that 1618 on our Fibonacci extension there. I think this might be our move towards that $3,000 on gold that Piper talked about for quite a bit. Let's zoom that back on in to the 1 hour there and see what the next day or so might be bringing our way. You are getting that curvature of our prime oscillator as it is staying a bit red here, trying to look back to the upside on things. Our MACD in that same position where it's looking to get that curvature back up and continue this run to the upside. We will need to see a bit of some cool off eventually here. Really going to depend how much volume and if we continue to see that green money flow stay in the way it is there. That first resistance area I would look at is going to be that all-time high on gold, and that's that 2,789 mark, where we might see a little bit of some sideways movements to give the prime oscillator some cooling off and the MACD some cooling off as well. If we were able to get above that, turn that into some support, you've got that next little launching point being that 2,825, where we'd probably see a bit of some resistance there. Once we get kind of close to that, I will draw a new Fibonacci extension so we can kind of see what levels we might hit along the way there. Got French Toaster saying all set, good morning. We've got Jesse Gulak saying good morning to the people in the chat as well. Everyone that loves that barbecue except weird vegan people. Hey, you know, I had a few friends in college that are vegan, and even they like barbecue. They just have a vegan option. I felt like a terrible person cooking their vegan options on my grill, though, so I had to go buy a whole separate grill just to cook their vegan options, so they didn't contaminate my meat, you know. But hey, everyone likes barbecue. Barbecue is quite delicious. Let's take a look at some silver. I have been closely watching silver. It does like to move quite in tandem with gold as well. It is that hedge against inflation as well. We got Kyle Fields in here saying, yo. We got Paul Caruso saying, good morning, brother. Good morning to you. I hope you're having a great Friday so far. Nuh-uh. They say, is vegans attending barbecues? Yeah, so they were, there's a college here that is, very Christian, and their sect of Christian doesn't like a lot of meats. They don't do dancing, they don't do sodas. They're extremely healthy there, and yeah, as Anthony Soprano said, no fake meat on my grill, and that's exactly what happened. I was cooking bratwurst, and it was requested that they had some vegan options for bratwurst, and they looked quite weird. I did have to try one. The texture was weird. The taste wasn't terrible, you know, but they had to have those instead of my bratwurst option, so they got cooked on a separate grill. Because I'm not doing that. I will cook you a vegan option, but it's not going with my meat. I don't want that together. The same way that they don't want my meat cooked with their super vegan options either. So it worked out for the best for everyone. Got like a $25 grill, and they were happy. And I was happy that they weren't complaining. So we've got silver at those key areas as well, getting that little bit of a bounce here off of that $31.30 range that I was taking a look at. I did want to see that turned into some support. It was a key resistance area back here, and when we broke above it, we dropped below it extremely quickly. Did get a bit of a bounce off of it before seeing some cool off on our oscillators here before we really drop back down below. And that's where we really saw the rest of the market get that move back down to the downside as well. So we are back in that position. We're trying to turn this into some support and get our launch back up to some key levels here at that $32 range. This is that 236, which we are going to do some battle with next. You do have a support line here that was turned into resistance. That's quite in line with that 236 as well. So seeing a bit of resistance here at the top sides at that $31 range is probably what we're going to see here on some silver. We do have plenty of room to run here on this 1 hour. It's looking a little bit different than gold was, where that MACD line is still pointed very high to the upside, never really got that pullback down towards the indicator line. And we've got some nice width from that indicator line as they both broke that zero line and are still pointed very high to the upside. Your prime oscillator is getting a bit of some cool off as we got some sideways movements on that $31.31 range. Got a bit of some sideways movements, and your prime oscillator was getting a bit of cool off here as well. Your volume is starting to pick up on things, and you're just waiting for that money flow to kind of peek its head back in and bring some buying pressure to the markets. Really just gonna need to wait to find that money flow coming back in on things, because that's gonna be that launching point back to the 236. You might see some slight resistance on the way there at that $31.68 range. Another little area below that might be that $31.56 range, where you saw quite a bit of battling at. We are approaching the bottom of that battle range, where we had some nice bull and bear action here before those bulls ended up taking over on things. I did want to take a look at the S&P 500 because it made some explosive moves. We did get some resistance at our golden pocket, which was also a CME gap that is now filled. Let's close that on out. We've got that CME gap finally being closed and a move back above it. We moved back above our 50% line on a fib retracement, moved up to that 382, did a little bit of battle there before we really got that new CME gap up to that 236, and we're now at the top of the range here. I will have to kind of pull my Fibonacci extension and hide that Fibonacci retracement, and as you can kind of see, we're at that platinum pocket on things. We do have plenty of room to run here, as you can see for our MACD. We're getting that nice curvature back towards our indicator line on the top side of things. The prime oscillator getting that nice cool off as your money flow is staying nice and solid green, getting a bit of a tick up as well. Volume staying solid as well. You do have some divergences that are stacking up, really waiting to create a new divergence in this range. That next little topping area would be that 6,161. We'll probably see a bit of resistance, and that divergence might come to call and see that platinum pocket touched all over again at that $6,096 range. Let's start. I hate XRP. Well, if you hate or love XRP, me and Lunar Beaches will be having an XRP special that we will be doing this weekend. So definitely keep your eyes out for that, because we will be going over everything XRP. We got Tony Soprano saying, John writes in group chat, so for the barbecue this weekend, any vegans in the group? Karen answers, oh yeah, here, so nice of you that Karen was removed from group chat. Just about right. Well, if I could have, I would have. They were my girlfriend's friends, so definitely couldn't kick them out of the group chat. So I was forced to make some vegan options. They were happy. My girl was happy. Everyone was happy, and it was less of a headache that way. So looking to swap for SWE. We've got XRP and looking to swap it for some SWE. Not necessarily a bad move, kind of just depends on your long-term sentiment. We can kind of take a look at a comparison chart against XRP and SWE if you would like. Any alt requests, go ahead and drop those in the chat. I've got a little bit of time for that. Actually, I'll just start out with that XRP SWE pair, and we'll kind of take a look at those charts next to each other. Let's get over to the JPY. US dollar JPY real quick, and as you can kind of see here, we got some nice bouncing off of that 900 moving average, and we're now above a bunch of our moving averages here as they were consolidating and waiting for that move back to the upside. Your slower term move, your faster moving averages are getting that curvature back to the upside on things, really waiting for that explosive move to the upside. As you can kind of see, your prime oscillators nice and green here as our money flow is staying a little bit red, getting some selling pressure. But your volume is staying quite nice, really waiting for that money flow to come back on things, kind of break this high that we had made here, turn some of these moving averages into some support. As you can kind of see, we've been playing off of these moving averages quite nicely here. Get that bounce off of that's the 800 there, kind of do some play off of our 700, which is this light pink one, before we really drop back down to our 700 or 800 there, make that push back up off of that, really drop back down on things. So really needing to turn some of these into some support here, break some of the highs that have been lower highs on things. As you can see, there's a bunch of buying pressure in this range if we drop back lower on things. So kind of showing that that money flow from the US dollar to the Japanese yen might not be happening this time around. And we might see that on their next rate hike decision if the US maintains these holding of rates. Let's take a look at that pair for you. We're taking a look at this other chart. Been talked a lot about, but let's get XRP pulled up. Take a look at that dual, and got that Trump coin pulled up. Let's take a look at SWE. It is in that 6 to 10. Oh, it changed both of those. Not what I was wanting there. XRP. There we go. Let's kind of close that out there. As you can kind of see, let's change the time frame on that as well. 1 minute is not what we're trying to look at there. Let's take a look at that daily. Zoom that on out. Zoom that on out. There we go there. Sitting at those ranges. Let's take a look at the daily on XRP2 and see if you might be at a decent swapping point. I had talked about some higher prices on XRP being potentially seen before we start seeing some continued resistance. That daily chart is looking at that point where we might be a bit bearish on things. As you can kind of see, if that would hide, there we go. That MACD line is looking to cross the indicator line on the top side of things. So seeing that break just a bit lower would definitely be a move I could see coming XRP's way. You do have that prime oscillator also showing lots of overbought signals. A reversal signal showed as well, waiting for that second reversal signal and really turning that $3 into some strong support here. And we did get a nice little bounce off of it, and with the way things are looking, unless we get some crazy money flow coming in to buy things up, that $3 range looks nice and juicy. If you're wanting to swap into some SWE here, you would want things to be a little bit low on SWE, and kind of looking like that daily chart might be flashing some reversals here soon. So might be a bit of a good move to make. If you see that break down below to that 382 there, you can always swap out of your XRP, hold a bit of that dry powder there, and wait for the bottoming point on SWE there. That would be that 382 I would look at, and that's at $3.93. As you can kind of see here, the daily chart might have a bit of some downside to go. If we don't get that low, there's that level at $4 and about 25 cents that I have drawn out there, where if we lose that 236 on things, which is that point that looks like we have a bit of resistance at, I would take a look at. Let's see. BC was right, rib chats. I'm assuming that's on that JPY pair that we was talking about, that we might not see that capital flow out because the US dollar is extremely strong against the yen. I don't get on things, question marks. Then you're not listening to BC on things. I'm just going to assume that that was about the US dollar JPY pair, and that we probably wouldn't see a massive capital flow out of the US dollar and back into the Japanese economy. I'm really looking at that second rate hike, which they are already starting to price in, especially since you saw the Nikkei getting bought up the other day. Kind of shows that with the banks doing what they're doing in Japan, you also seeing the wages increase in Japan as well. They're going to need to hike those rates one more time, and they're already pricing that in the banking sector, and a lot of these small businesses are already pricing that in as well. And that's going to be that drawdown for the US dollar and JPY pair. This is where we're sitting right below some key levels on some Fibonacci's on that pair, and seeing that drag down extremely hard as we see the uncertainty in the market, and that first data drop that we're probably going to see in February kind of tick that US dollar down in general. You are seeing the dollar lose a bit of some strength against other currencies. So nothing that we wouldn't see in that US dollar and JPY pair as well. The hate special XRP for tomorrow at the same time. I know what time. I'm not sure on the time just yet. If you are in that Discord, me and Lunar Beaches can drop that time that we'd be looking at. I know he talked about recording it. I don't know if we're going to do a live on it or not, but definitely going to have that XRP special coming your way. I will be a little bit on the hate side of things for XRP, but it's not a hate of the project in general. It's more a hate on some of the things that are attached to XRP. So you'll have to tune into that one and kind of see what I'm talking about. How can you not get the how can you not get the on things thing if you focus on this content instead of the chat? Never mind. I focus on the content, and sometimes I gotta scroll back just a bit. So I scrolled back just a bit. I did see SNEK was requested. We can take a look at SWE alone and XRP alone as well if you would like. I'm up for over 5 hours already. Got me beat, Jesse. I've only been up for almost 4 hours. So yeah, I'm going to get you to switch up on XRP. I challenge you on that one, Lunar Beaches. I don't think it's a bad project. I just think some of the management is kind of boo-boo on it, and I'm not a fan of how they do everything on the project. So we can dive onto that one in our show together. We did have XRP. We're just kind of looked at. Let's take a look at that 15-minute to see what the morning might be bringing our way on it. You are getting some nice sideways movement here on this platinum pocket here, as our prime oscillator is cooling off, and you're seeing your MACD cool off as well. The management is spectacular. Rsan246 saying corruption. Oh no. Well, we will talk about that in the special. You got your MACD looking to move a bit sideways, getting some slight curvature. Rsan246 saying, but don't tell the XRP army. I'm sure they will show up in force for the video, because it's gonna be the title. Corruption my butt. Most transparent project in crypto. Haters gonna hate. I'm not saying that it's not transparent, but just because you're transparent doesn't mean that there's not corruption. Take a look at the U.S. federal government. I'm not saying they're corrupt, though. That was RCN246. I was just reading his comment. This mic sounds great. Well, I appreciate that, XSIN. I did a bunch of some tweaking on my programs, so was trying to get that fixed out until I get my new mic and have that just hanging up there so it's out of the way and I can get this headset off of my head. Not that I don't like it, it's just I would like to show off the rest of my hair, and it kind of messes up my hair in the mornings. Sounds a little bit girly, but it is what it is. Looking to hold this platinum pocket here. That's that $3.18 for the morning. You are seeing your prime oscillator cooling off here. Your money flow, your volume is quite solid and green as you're waiting on that true 7 to kind of get that last little clip as the prime oscillator gets its continued cool off. We are moving quite nicely on top of that $3.18. We do have our 100 moving average, which is a strong support for if we break below it. We have turned that, we are waiting to turn that 50%, that 50 moving average into some support as well. Pillow hair is a thing. Yeah, we get you. Yeah, I mean, people around here call it Jufro, but that it is what it is. The other day, my girl froed out my hair, and it was like this big, and it was actually a great pillow. So I get why I call it pillow hair. Not a big fan of it though. I like to keep the curls showing because it looks nice, and the females love it. I say the females love it. Specifically, my girl likes it, and that's the only female's opinion I really care about on it. So let's take a look at Sweet. It was requested as well. Let's see what the morning might be bringing Swee's way. As you can kind of see, we're getting a bit of some cool off on the prime oscillator and the MACD, just like on XRP. Really looking to hold some of these ranges here. You do have some higher term moving averages here that are looking to turn into some support as we've been making these higher lows and higher highs here. We do have a bit of some equal highs here, where if we push back up to that 236 could be a nice little bouncing point on things, which we're sitting at right now. That's that $4.42 range. With those higher term time frames looking like they have a little bit more of some bearishness, I would look at the bounce down off of that 236 like we've seen over and over again. If we don't have extreme volume. BC not sleeping on the couch tonight. Yeah, covered my butt there. Sink in Toaster saying, I love this guy. Well, I like to have fun, so I'm glad you're enjoying it. He just saved his butt. Yeah, I most definitely did. You know, you gotta stay safe, because happy wife, happy life. And nobody wants to deal with angry women in their life. Let's take a look at SNEK, because that was requested as well. I got time for one more alt request if someone wants to drop one in the chat for me. First come, first serve. Got SNEK. Let's take a look at it on MEXC. Let's just zoom that on out to a daily view, kind of see where we're sitting. We did have a nice push up on SNEK. This is a nice little Cardano meme project there. Let's get a Fibonacci retracement from the low to the high. Zoom it out just a bit so we can get that high in there. All right, let's zoom that back in. See where we're sitting above that 382 on things. really looking to kind of turn that into some strong support. You do have some money flow, which is continued red. Your prime oscillator is light red as well. So really looking to see that switch of money flow on things. I did see QUANT requested, so I got you right after this one. Let's zoom this one on in to our hourly, see what the next few days might be bringing our way. See a massive fair value gap there. So we're going to get that one drawn out and see where that midline resides. And I bet you it's kind of close. Oh, almost exactly on our Fibonacci as well. So seeing that Fibonacci come back into play, a little bit of some weekend below that would definitely be a move I would have my eye on. That's at 0061583 for that midline on our fair value gap. That could come back to play. That Fibonacci retracement right above it would be a solid point as well. We are seeing a bit of some curvature on our 1 hour to look back down on things. Your money flow is nice and green for now, but you've got your prime oscillator kind of looking back down. So really looking to the downside to find that strong bouncing point. Your moving averages are starting to pick back up on the shorter term time frames, as your higher term time frames are moving quite sideways on things. No stepper on stake, says a Lunar Beaches Crypto. We had QUANT requested as well. So let's get that one pulled up. I don't think I've taken a look at QUANT in quite a long time. See on Coinbase there. Let's zoom that on out to our daily view on things. See where we're sitting on things. Yeah, y'all saying that made me realize just how much I say it. So let's get a fib retracement drawn out from lows to the highs there. We're sitting right above the golden pocket. Let's lock that fib so we don't move it anywhere. Lock your fibs, eat your ribs, folks. QUANT used to be a big favorite of mine, lost hope and sold out. I mean, it's still a solid project. It's got amazing utility. I just personally don't invest in it. I did take quite a look at it this cycle, and then just chose something else instead. That's the point, BC. Well, I will try to find new filler words because sometimes the southern comes out on things. So you are seeing the 50% Fibonacci on this retracement being a bit of a resistance point that we could see come into play. Let's zoom it on in. See what that hourly is bringing our way for the next couple days. You do have that 50% line on the retracement being that next little battle point. That is going to be that 115.75 cent range where we're going to start seeing some resistance over and over again. Chat gone crazy again. Hey, as long as y'all having fun and you're learning some things, that's all I care about. Y'all just keep it slightly appropriate, because I know Mark Dutch is here, so might be some craziness in there. You do have your moving averages looking nice and tight here. You're getting some curvature on the lower term time frames. This is going to be the 50 here. You do have the 20 here, the 50 there, and your 100 here is getting that curve as well. So all these are kind of pointing to the upside as we've got a nice little cool off here. Really looking at that resistance range to kind of be broken. We're going to need that money flow to come in quite heavily. You do have the volume, which is kind of low right now, looking to roll over just a bit. So if we don't get that money flow coming in quite nicely, you might see that 50% line be our resistance. As you can kind of see, when we get above it, there's quite a bit of selling pressure. We try to turn that 900 moving average into some support there. really got that move back up and dropped extremely hardly below all of our moving averages. Damn, I was just about to give you a compliment and how you're improving greatly, but you ruined it, BC. Well, I'll have fun here. I'll have fun. So got 15 minutes looking a bit toppy on things, and that's where I'd look at a bit of some lower levels here. That 20 moving average on our 15-minute has been some nice support there. Going to need to turn a higher moving average into some support as they all get that curvature back to the upside. It is 6:59. I appreciate every single one of you showing up and having some fun in the chats with me. If you enjoy the show and you got that rib emoji, drop a little rib emoji in the chat. Let me know how you feel. I hope you enjoyed the higher mic on things. It's a little bit better. I hope it was a little bit easier to hear me when I'm talking there. Make sure to tune into the rest of the shows on Piper Academy. We do have the morning market report at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time with Piper and OC Guy. We do have Trade Academy at 4 p.m. Eastern Time with Trade Intuition. We don't have the Crypto Nightcap tonight. That is Monday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And no Markets After Dark either with Lunar Beaches Crypto. That's at 11 p.m. That's a Sunday to Thursday. I hope y'all have an amazing Friday, and I will see y'all in the Alex O Crypto chats here in a second. Y'all have a great day and wake up.